Marcie Michelle Free, born Mark Edward Free on April 12, 1954, and passing away on October 23, 2025, was much more than a rock singer. She was a symbol of truth, courage, and transformation. Best known as the dynamic frontwoman of King Kobra, Signal, and Unruly Child, Marcie lived a life filled with triumph, heartbreak, and rediscovery. Her music spoke to outsiders and dreamers, to those who longed to live authentically in a world that often demanded conformity. At the time of her death, her net worth was estimated at $1.1 million. Her story began in Flint, Michigan, where her passion for music ignited early. At 19, she realized that her voice, both powerful and emotionally charged, was her way to freedom. In 1975, she left home for Las Vegas, chasing more than a career. She was pursuing destiny. For years later, she arrived in Los Angeles, where her musical journey truly began to unfold. Everything changed in 1983 when she met drummer Carmine Appice, who had just left Ozzy Osbourne's band. Appice immediately saw something rare in Marcie. Her voice was at once thunderous and tender. He invited her to join his new project, King Kobra, which was originally intended to showcase his own talent, but soon transformed into a full-fledged band because of Marcie's commanding stage presence and vocal brilliance. By 1984, King Kobra had landed a deal with Capitol Records, and Marcie was living her dream. Together they released 2 albums, Ready to Strike and Thrill of a Lifetime, which cemented their place in the hard rock scene. Marcie's extraordinary voice and charisma made her a standout in an era when women in rock were still fighting for recognition. Yet her artistic spirit was restless. By the end of 1986, she chose to leave the band, searching for deeper creative meaning beyond fame. In 1987, she teamed up with producer Peter McKeon and musicians Eric Scott, Mark Baker, and Jan Uvina to form a new project. Under EMI Records, the group became known as Signal, though Marcie had initially proposed the name Unruly Child, which would later resurface in her career. Signal released one powerful album, Loud and Clear, in 1989. The record showcased Marcie's emotional depth and intensity, but poor promotion from EMI caused it to fade from the spotlight. When the label dropped them, Signal quietly dissolved, leaving Marcie again at a turning point. From those ashes rose her next great chapter. In 1990, she reunited with Bruce Gowdy and Guy Allison to form Unruly Child. Their chemistry was undeniable, a perfect mix of emotion, rebellion, and artistry. Signed to Atlantic/Interscope, they released their self-titled debut album in 1992. It was both musically intricate and deeply human, carried by Marcie's soaring voice that seemed to channel strength and fragility all at once. That same year, she performed the anthem, To Be, the best of the best for the action film Best of the Best 2, a song that embodied her personal resilience. A collection of earlier recordings, Long Way from Love, appeared in the UK in 1993. The album, later reissued by Frontiers Records, revealed the intimate side of her artistry, a heartfelt portrait of a woman torn between longing and hope. That October, she performed at the Gods of Aor Festival in Manchester, where her performance glowed with passion and power. When Unruly Child lost their record deal, the band reformed under the name 12 Pound Sledge, but their new recordings never saw release. However, the sessions led to the creation of Tormented in 1995, a raw and emotional collection that served as a personal statement of survival. The songs echoed the sound of someone fighting through chaos and emerging stronger on the other side. Behind the music, Marcie was waging a more private battle, the fight to live authentically. For years, she carried the painful secret that her public identity did not reflect her true self. In November 1993, she courageously came out as a transgender woman, adopting the name Marcie Michelle Free. Her decision, she later said, was one between life and death. If she had continued to live as Mark, she believed she would not have survived. Her transition was an act of liberation and truth. Yet her bravery came at a heavy cost. The music industry that once embraced her suddenly turned away. Opportunities vanished, calls stopped, and many friends withdrew. Still, Marcie refused to give in to despair. She took on everyday work as a courier in Los Angeles, living modestly but honestly, finding quiet joy in authenticity. By 1995, she had returned to Michigan to be near her family, living simply and anonymously for years. This period of withdrawal was also one of struggle. Marcie battled alcoholism, a darkness that nearly consumed her. But in 2008, she found renewal through faith, discovering strength in a personal relationship with God. Through that connection, she achieved sobriety and inner peace. In 2009, fate called her back to the music she had never truly left behind. She reunited with Gowdy and Allison to revive Unruly Child. Signing with Frontiers Records, they released Worlds Collide in 2010, a triumphant return that reintroduced Marcie's unmistakable voice to fans worldwide. Her singing, still full of fire and emotion, resonated with even deeper wisdom born of experience. She performed not just as a vocalist, but as a survivor whose life had become art. In 2014, Unruly Child released Down the Rabbit Hole under their own label, Unruly Records. The album's title perfectly captured Marcie's life, a journey through chaos, beauty, loss, and renewal. Her voice, more textured than ever, reflected all she had endured. Every song carried the message that authenticity is not a privilege, but a right, and that living truthfully is its own kind of victory. Marcie's personal life was marked by love and heartbreak. She married Laurie Richardson on June 24, 1989, a union that later ended but remained an important part of her story. In later years, Marcie often spoke of the loneliness she experienced after coming out, how friends and colleagues distanced themselves. Yet she never let bitterness harden her heart. She instead became a quiet but powerful symbol of self-acceptance, showing others that peace begins when we stop pretending. Her bravery inspired many who struggled with identity and belonging. Marcie proved that true artistry doesn't lie in fame or fortune, but in the courage to live honestly, no matter the cost. When she passed away on October 23, 2025, she left behind not only a remarkable catalog of music, but also an enduring legacy of resilience and authenticity. Her story, that of a voice that refused to be silenced, continues to inspire anyone who has ever felt unseen. Marcie's artistry drew influence from many legends, but her sound remained distinctly her own. She deeply admired Aretha Franklin, whose soulful conviction taught her that singing was not about perfection but emotion. Marcie often credited Aretha in her album notes, recognizing her as a spiritual and artistic guide. Her other influences range from the Beatles and the Beach Boys to Grand Funk Railroad, Led Zeppelin, Smokey Robinson, and even classic big band performers. From each, she absorbed lessons about harmony, rhythm, storytelling, and feeling, weaving them into her unique style. Her voice could erupt with power or soften into a whisper. It held both vulnerability and strength, capable of expressing joy, sorrow, and truth in a single breath. It was a sound born of struggle and illuminated by beauty, a rare combination that few artists ever achieve. Marcie Michelle Free's life was, at its core, a song of liberation. It was sometimes painful, sometimes radiant, but always honest. She faced rejection and misunderstanding, yet never abandoned her light. Through every lyric and every note, she taught that truth itself is music, and living authentically is the purest form of art. Though her physical voice fell silent in October 2025, its echo will continue to resonate in the hearts of all who have heard her story. She will always be remembered as unruly, unbroken, and unforgettable.